And she said to me, please, can you close the doors? I think it was about 10, 11 o'clock at night. She said, no more guests. It's all only friends of hers coming in. And I said, no problem. And I had these 3 ladies walk up to the door, black woman, coloured woman, and a white woman, drunk as fuck. And I said, unfortunately, the doors are closed this evening. It's
a private function.
Up from this point on. And she took it wrong. And they started bantering back at me, but they were really drunk as fuck. So I said to the woman, I was like, listen, yeah, you're legless. We're not going to allow you in. But I didn't realize she had no leg.
The Dan Flow is all about human stories. The idea is that by listening to human stories, we get to share some of the knowledge and experience of specific individuals, and that teaches us something about life or about potential avenues we could go to, maybe gain some knowledge or some accidental wisdom along the way.
Let's hope so.
Yes. Robin, I'd like to welcome you to the Dan Flow.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we were actually introduced by mutual friends, and they said, I absolutely have to get you on the show.
I'm quite surprised at that. Actually, not that surprised.
Not that. They said you're an ideas man and you have amazing stories and you've come up with some of the concepts that have driven some very serious brands in terms of the entertainment industry, specifically the nightclub and restaurant arena in Cape Town.
Yes.
But I think we'll get to some more of the detail and the meaty bits of it and all the intrigue later on. How did you start off in the industry?
Well, the service industry for me was a go-to after school. I didn't really want to go study, even though I did a little bit, and then just hated the...
What did you go study?
Project management. I didn't go to varsity. I didn't have the opportunity to do that. I'm an 80s child, or should I say 70s child, but grew up in the 80s. So I'm a little bit of an old school soul. And so when I left the project, or finished doing the project management, I started at a restaurant called Bohemia in Durban, which was a very interesting space.
Bohemia.
Yes.
There's so much loaded into that name, isn't there?
There is so much. So it was owned by Guy Wood, who owns Harrington's down in Cape Town, which is a beautiful space. And I'd highly recommend anybody to go to it. And that was the introduction to the madness of the service industry. And I just fell in there. I took to it like a fish to water. I just love looking after people. I love interacting with people. And it really properly hooked me. But I didn't really understand what it actually, how much it would mean to me going through where I am today. So once I worked in the restaurant over there, seeing the madness of life and the joy it gave people coming through that door. And that's why I started service industry. And
so you kind of realized that you're part of people's lives.
Yes,
like
yes.
It's not just another job that's...
Yes, it's something that you actually, like, you live to love. And if you're working in a space, people learn to love that space because of what you bring to it, in whatever capacity. And that's what I learned from Guy, that something a little bit off-kilter always manages. Anybody can put up a restaurant with tables and chairs in the kitchen. But a lot of people just don't know the it factor that has to accompany the food and the drinks and the service. Because it's not just about drinks and the food and the service. It's about the experience one has when you come into that space.
You've got to find that magic.
Yes. And you either have it in you or you don't have it in you. And then I worked for Red Bull for a short while. Because obviously you had to grow.
This was sort of the early days of Red Bull.
Yes, this was literally right at the early days of Red Bull, which was king. And we were given a little car with a little can on top, and we used to have to go.
Very cool, those.
Oh, it was so much fun. We had to do sales during the day, and I was in charge of restaurants and nightclubs in Natal, Durban. And I got to meet all the club owners and the restaurateurs. And even though I did sales during the day, I had to do promotions in the evenings. We had to do at least 4 promotions a week. For Red Bull, so it was hard. work all day, party all night.
Have a couple of Red Bulls to help balance things out.
Yeah, to give you those wings. Yes. So that was my introduction to the corporate world. And then I unfortunately lost my job at Red Bull because I lost my can on my car.
How did you lose the can on your car?
I was at Canal Walk here in Cape Town because I was asked to come down and look after the gay market here in Cape Town, which I did. And you have a height restriction on those Red Bull cars with your can. And
you ignored driving into a parking garage, didn't see?
No, I didn't ignore nothing. The height restriction was wrong. It had nothing to do with me. The Canal Walk got it wrong. So I had to go back when I went back to the office, I went back and they were like, "Where's your can?" I was like, I lost it. So that was the beginning of the end of Red Bull because there's some other things happened which I can't talk about, but I left Red Bull.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Can I pause you and jump back to the beginning of your tale here? You were saying that you studied project management, but you decided you weren't really going to do anything with it. Then you ended up in the restaurant and service industry.
Yes.
But do you feel like some of the things that you learned in project management actually changed the way that you looked at approaching a project?
Definitely.
And essentially, when you're in a restaurant, that's a project that you're running, and you have to go think about all the details and what's the critical path and what's the all of those
foundation, and you build up. Yeah, so it's all the components that come into building anything, actually. So as long as you have your foundation done right, it did still instill.
So let's give it some credit then, right?
No. There was definitely some things I learned from project management. I mean, it was just very regimental and strict, and I learned a lot from it. I mean, not that I enjoy corporate because they're a little bit too uptight for me. There's too many rules and regulations. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Look, I heard someone recently say that a lot of our world actually runs on bureaucracies.
Yes,
and that no one likes bureaucracies. But when we scale to a certain level, it's very difficult for us not to depend on bureaucracies to run things. And that perhaps in the future we'll have AIs will take over our bureaucracies and they will run them on things that are much more complicated but will work more elegantly.
Yes.
And we won't be able to be part of it because it'll just be too complicated or even too complex for us to
the
fathom.
AI thing is a big thing for me. Don't even get me started on that right
now.
now.
We might get there later.
Yes,
but the idea is, with big corporates, this is one of the challenges. When you have so many people, how do you organize them in a coherent way without having bureaucracies?
Well,
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying, for the most part, it proves to be almost impossible.
Well, I think it's dependent on your focus.
Very few exceptions.
It depends on the focus and who you are as a business owner and what you want to offer as your offering, as your business. So yes, AI is definitely needed in regards to that if a corporation comes through because of all the things that have to be ticked off. And I have no doubt as like a big corporation money maker, it would definitely need that AI and that control, especially in the service industry. And I've seen big restaurateurs that have copied and pasted their restaurants multiple times because obviously they make money on all of them.
And have a system that works.
Yes, but then you lose your authenticity, your realness, what you actually want to bring to the table. And that's the spaces that I've worked in before where it's very bespoke.
I'm sure you could have, there's an argument to be made for certain things like your point of sales, for instance.
Oh, yes.
And your accounting system.
Yes.
And some of your general, like, I'm going to treat my managers in this way. And you know what? It works. I'm going to do the same kind of thing in terms of the structure for another place.
Yes,
but I have to find some magical differentiator that allows the flavors between these places to be completely different, even though I'm sharing a lot of cultural attributes between them.
No, I get that. And I get that with the stock control and like the training of the waiters, and with AI now that there's a new app that's actually available with a friend of mine that I will share with you later. So basically it's where there's a platform where you can do tests with your staffing. So if you want to, for example, learn your single malts or your double malts, and you need to you need to educate your waitering staff on how to sell it or how to respond, that online immediate training and how much you've learned in the day, and if you've actually learned it, and it's like real time that your bosses will find out if you actually know the product or not. That kind of stuff where you're talking about now AI, and that kind of stuff is definitely needed. But when it comes to the bespoke care and making of a space, it comes from owner run usually, where they actually
it needs the heart.
It needs the heart and the soul. And if you don't have that, then you're just going to be, with no disrespect, going to be a McDonald's. You're going to go in there, you're going to get your stuff and you're going to move. Yeah. But if you want to go to a special place where you get a little bit off kilter, special care, and they recognize your name, and they know what you're drinking, and where you can be a little bit more of yourself than you would be at a Spur or a McDonald's.
There's sort of two directions. And the one is to go hyper personal, like you say.
Yes.
They know who you are, what you like, what you don't like, where what you want to sit, all of this stuff. Or the other side is, it is such a magical experience that you walk in there and you have no idea what's going to happen next, and it all surprises you wonderfully. And that also works.
Yes, very much so.
But there are two different strategies from straying from the grey middle path.
Yes, I mean, there's different ways that you could look at the business. I mean, I'm going to jump a little bit forward now, just talking about what you're talking about now.
So we're going past you knocking the can off the back of your Red Bull car.
Yes, and working in Dubai and figuring out that I actually love the service industry. I worked as Beanbag Bohemia in Durban was very bespoke. I worked with a lady that owns a restaurant here in Cape Town, the Duchess of West Beach, which I worked there for 11 years, which I learned a lot from her. And she's very bespoke in what she does, but she's very, she gives a fuck of who walks through that door and how you're treated. And I learned a lot from her just on how she rolls things. But it's very much what you just stated, as in you walk in there and you're like, what's going on here? But in saying that, the offering that she had probably chases away 50% of the people, but also the other 50% you have for life, because they walk in there and they're like, what the fuck is going on here? So it's about not just the food and the drinks, it's about the experience and what you take away from it. Yeah. I could get a little bit more into that, but I don't know, maybe it's a bit too early.
You can decide on the pacing, yeah. I mean,
okay.
It's your story.
Okay. Yeah, so when I left Red Bull, I went to Dubai and I worked for Nokia and Dell in corporate, and I did that for 5 years.
What did you do for them?
I went over there initially to be quality control. So I was employed to pull their retail together and to copy and paste their stores across Dubai in the 7 Emirates, and also put up their service centers for Nokia, when Nokia was king.
Yeah.
Yes, when it was king.
I recall.
Yes, with the Nokia Engage and the Nokia Communicate, that little computer. And it was, I learned a lot when I was over there, and I loved working in the Middle East. It was a charm, and the money was killer. I mean, back in 2004, the salary was like 50K, and you don't even get, there's no tax. Pricing of apartments are a little bit pricey, but it was a great education for me to learn that, and I loved it while I was there. Yeah, I didn't like corporate though that much because they're so rigid.
Yeah.
I was pulled into the office a few times for not behaving appropriately, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, back to the bureaucracies, right? When we've got so many people, now we have bureaucracies that tell us exactly what the window of behavior that is expected of our people is. And if you behave or even think outside of that, then suddenly you become a pariah.
Yes, I'm a pariah.
Well, that's a bit restrictive.
Yes, very much so. I mean, I've been named and shamed too many times, and unfortunately, because my cockhole just won't keep quiet, I'll just say it like it is. I mean, if it is what it is, and it gets me into a lot of trouble, unfortunately, sometimes. But I'd rather be real and honest and forthcoming in the moment than not, because what I've also, just in life, just people just aren't honest. And I understand the concept of white lies and lies, where
people say things just to get along, like, let's just make it happen. But the more people do that, and the more of your society just goes along with the lies, the more the lies stack on top of the lies.
Yeah.
And eventually you end up with a shallow version of what reality could be because we've veered so far from reality.
Yes. And people
and so
wear
being
masks.
truthful, yeah. And so being truthful can
get me into trouble.
Shake the boat a little bit.
Yeah, I've sunk a few.
But being truthful is also a powerful way of resetting some of the lies.
Yes.
And so you can keep on getting back to reality. And if you, for instance, in a business, if you're very, very truthful, that means that you can more accurately identify what your actual challenges are.
Yes.
And so you can solve the real problems you have.
Yes.
Where if you're not being honest, then you can solve wonderfully, but you're not solving the real problems, then what are you actually doing?
Yeah, and also just to be real. I mean, like this with this whole woke thing that's come up in the past few years, I don't understand it. I mean, I respect everybody and their choices and their decisions and who they want to be. I never name and shame them. I mean, I'm gay. I've had lots of challenges being gay in South Africa, and it's obviously become less and less. But I can't name and shame people on their choices and decisions, but I also have an opinion on how you go through life and expect to be treated because of your choices and decisions. Because we all human beings at the end of the day, male, female, straight, gay, whatever it might be, we're all still the same. So I'm not a fan with too much of the woke sort of.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big issues there is sort of compelled speech.
Yes.
Essentially, like, we've decided that you can no longer say this. You have to say this. You have to call me by this, whatever I decide.
Yeah.
And that's the moment where, wait. I'm all for your freedom to
you be who you want.
Do whoever the hell you want to, as long as you don't hurt anyone else.
Yeah.
But when you come, now you're impeding on my freedom because I end up not being able to even know what to call you because you've secretly decided to call yourself something. And if I call you the wrong thing now, I'm the bad guy.
Yes.
And it's like, no. Life is interesting enough.
Yes.
There's enough complexity. We don't have to introduce that kind of...
Exactly. I don't think it could have been better said than what Ricky Jarvis said. Just because you're offended doesn't make it wrong.
Absolutely.
It's humor. It's people have to say what they have to, what they want to say, and just say it like it is. And that's why the way that I interact with people, I usually very comedic in the way that I sort of deliver things, because you've got to
because the humor kind of lubricates.
Yes, it's about laugh. It's like just laugh a little bit. Like, don't take life so seriously. I mean, there's a few sayings I have when people come into the restaurant, and I started it at the Duchess, I think, where I had to when I work at a space, it becomes almost like mine, even though it's not my restaurant.
So you typically work sort of front of house.
Yes, I do front of house. I don't do anything responsible. I don't count stock. It's not me. But when I walk into a space, I curate the evening. So anybody that's walking into the space for the evening, I've confirmed, I've seen their picture on WhatsApp. So when they walk through the door, I'm like, hi, Mr. So-and-so, welcome. Spoke to you earlier. Give them a brief or I've asked them if there's any dietary requirements or special occasions, so that I'm briefed before they even walk through the door.
As requested, share your 2 ice cold tequilas,
which I give to every single table that I used to drink with every single body. So I got a little bit tinkered by the end of the evening, and I suppose that's where that shit rolled off my tongue, where the customer comes first.
Yeah,
usually on my face, which people are quite shocked about. But it's the theatre of the evening. When you go out for dinner, if you take your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your husband or your wife, it's theatre. Why are you going out for dinner? You're going out to have an experience.
Dinner and a show.
A dinner and a show, and wherever it might be. So if you choose certain venues, you know what kind of experience you get. So if you go to McDonald's, you're going to get McDonald's. If you go to like the Duchess, you know that you're going to be dancing on the tables and maybe taking off your clothes and dancing on the bar, which I will show you a picture later. That it's all in good fun. Nobody's getting hurt. It's just a little bit madness. And then you go home and you wake up the next morning and you're like, what the fuck happened last night? And it's just about the enjoyment of it.
So I think what I was saying earlier, you could either have this, we really know you, welcome home, or we create a bit of magic. And create a bit of magic allows people, I think it's called a liminal space.
Yes. What does that mean?
So liminal space is like in Rome, like there's a Pantheon or wherever, they have orgies and whatever, but people would wear masks.
Yes.
And so the idea is that you are Mr. and Mrs. whoever, very responsible, but we're going to have a wild party tonight. You arrive with masks, and what happens in there stays in there, and it doesn't, the ordinary rules that govern our society don't operate in that space.
You've hit that nail on the head.
And so and it doesn't necessarily have to be quite as wild as that, but the idea that you go into a space and suddenly it doesn't feel like the rules that run your ordinary life apply there.
Correct.
And so then you have a certain sense of freedom and exploration and so on that you wouldn't probably get at the McDonald's.
Correct. So there's a place called in London called The Box, which I've just recently heard about. And I've got some guests that I know very well, actually very good friends, that have visited spaces like that in Europe. And they're like, Robbie, this is what's missing in Cape Town. Just needs a little bit of madness. Like there's a little bit of off-kilter. And they said, have you ever been to The Box? I said, I've never been to The Box. And they explained The Box to me. And The Box is wild, just like what you just explained right there. And
so like antiquity.
Yes, it's wild. And that's what people want sometimes. They just want a little bit of madness. And they also don't want to be known in that space. Like they want to be recognized.
So now there are lots of places, and specifically some comedy clubs, where you get a little lock, when you walk in, that's your phone, goes into a little lockbox.
Yes.
You'll get it when you come out.
Yes.
Your phone's not welcome in here. But specifically with comedy, I think what it allows someone is they can sort of have edgy experimental material.
Yes.
And like say something and it's quite wild and people kind of go, ooh, I think you crossed the line. He's like, okay, sorry, maybe that was a bit too much. And
but is it that too much?
No, I mean, the point is just, you might say something because you sort of on the fly, impromptu, tried something and you realize, okay, yeah, maybe that was a bit,
pushing it a bit hard.
But now you have people with phones and they recorded it. So
and
now it means you can't
context.
Yeah, out of context somewhere now, suddenly you persona non grata in public media. So that's why it's so important to take away people's devices from them, to allow the space, again, a sort of a liminal space where it's experimental. Yeah. We're sometimes going to cross the lines. We're going to say things that are a little bit too wild for most people or whatever, but that's how we establish where the lines are.
Yes. No, I get that. And I've had an experience like that at the Duchess, where things were blown out of proportion. And it wasn't just because it didn't actually record it at the time. And it just blew off on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly here in Cape Town. I'm sure you've heard of that platform.
Yeah.
And it was the owner's birthday a few years back. And she said to me, please, can you close the doors? I think it was about 10, 11 o'clock at night. She said, no more guests. It's all only friends of hers coming in. And I said, no problem. And I had these three ladies walk up to the door, black woman, colored woman, and a white woman, drunk as fuck. And I said, unfortunately, the doors are closed this evening. It's
a private function
up from this point on. And she took it wrong. And they're sort of bantering back at me, but we're really drunk as fuck. So I said to the woman, I was like, listen, you're legless. We're not going to allow you in. But I didn't realize she had no leg. Literally had no leg. So she took it very wrong. And she said, you are against paraplegic. Like you
the disabled or handicapped.
Suddenly I am rude because she's disabled, and they hung on to that hook that I said they can't come in there because she has no leg, not realizing she had no leg. So she went on social media the next day, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And before she walked away the evening, she said, I'm going to fuck you up on social media. And I was like, bring it on. Bring it on, babe. It's like there was nothing maliciously intense. I didn't know that you had no leg. And it blew up on social media where they had to actually close the thread because it just got so nasty. But out of that, good marketing, bad marketing, we had so many people come through to the Duchess just to see what it was about because I just thought it was hilarious. So we got more business out of it than not. So I always say, even if you upset a few people, whatever rolls off my tongue, and if you're offended or you're not offended, people talk about it and they come. So that's what my charm has always been, where I just say it like it is.
So, Robin, I mean, you were explaining how you spent some time in Dubai, and from what I understand, when you came back, you almost immediately started with Duchess and then spent 11 years there. Or?
No. So when I left Dubai, and it's a very unfortunate thing happened, I had my brother, my sister, stepfather, grandfather commit suicide, and that's what put me off kilter to come back to South Africa. And I didn't want to work corporate anymore because it just wasn't me. And I'd made the choice of doing something that really made me happy. And service industry makes me happy. So me and my ex-partner opened a boutique hotel in Knysna on the Heads called the Alexander, which is still there today. It's rated the top boutique hotel on the Garden Route, and I'd highly recommend it. And that's where I fell straight back into the service industry because it's what I love to do. And that's how I got back into restaurants and service industry. That's why I love it so much. And from Knysna, I moved to Cape Town, and just before the Duchess, I met a princess. I shouldn't say princess, blue blood, by the name of Desiree Corjavinas. And she was my...
Where's that from?
Swedenland. Sweden. Yeah, I think
it's one of those SW.
Yeah, I'll show you a picture later of her on the balcony. And I fell into her entourage for a year and a half, which was the introduction to real Cape Town and social. So I was a little bit of a socialite for a year and a half, just going out and about and partying at 4 clubs per night, which became a little bit taxing. And then, fortunately or unfortunately, she decided to move back to Europe, which she did.
Because the party was just too hard, yeah.
It was. My eyes got opened properly in Cape Town. I mean, I used to party, but I didn't used to party. But Cape Town has opened my eyes a little bit, especially working in the service industry. It's part and parcel of how people operate on different levels, and you have to watch yourself on how you sort of manage the madness, because it can become all encompassing. And I've seen people make some very bad life choices,
consuming,
yes, and they lose their way. So it's a service industry in Cape Town is difficult because even you got to do it every night. It's a performance every night, so you got to do what you have to do. And that's when I started at the Duchess after Desi left. After your entourage days? Yes, after the entourage days, I started working with Teresa at the Duchess for 11 years, and she really taught me a lot. I have a lot of respect for her. Unfortunately, at the moment, I can't go back to the Duchess because she wants to stab me in the head with a teaspoon, I'm sure, because I left and went and started working with Mark Townsend, who started La Parada and Harbour House, Tiger's Milk. I'm not too sure if something fishy or not. Anyway, he sold that all just before COVID.
It's pretty prolific, though.
Yeah, no. He's an operator. He's a good man. I get on well with him. He has managed a great balance between the madness and business as in regards to what the offering should be. So he has the foresight to have that offering that people mostly want. Just besides the food and the alcohol, it's also a little bit of a vibe. So it's like old school foot tapping music, then get a little bit naughty as the night goes on. So that's when we opened Harry's and Sea Point, where the Grand Pavilion is now, in the back, which was very successful for the first 2-3 years. And then because of the building it's in, the body corporate didn't like the noise. So we had to step back on the DJs.
Yeah, that can make things tricky.
Yes, they can, and I don't want to say it. They're a little bit cunty. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yes, yeah. So I had to move on from the Harry's and Sea Point, and then we opened Harry's in Camps Bay. And then I stepped off the floor a little bit, but still was managing the floors and helping with the interiors and the vibe. But my heart and my soul is in service industry. I do love it. But the madness that happens on this floor sometimes are crazy.
So Sorry, you just mentioned sort of as a bit of a throwaway there. I asked you earlier, and you're like front of house. You don't do anything responsible. But yeah, sort of throwaways. You were saying, decor and ambiance and
because I used to have an interior business in Johannesburg and landscaping when I got back from Dubai. Before we opened the boutique hotel, I did an interior landscaping business in Joburg. And so I have that eye for interior. So like any restaurant is about creating spaces where you feel comfortable and you want to stay. If it looks like a canteen, you just want to fill those plates and get people out. Whereas my ethos as Marx's, as Teresa's is, and what I've learned is you need to create those spaces that people actually want to come back, not just once or twice. They keep on coming back. And that's the recipe to get a good restaurant going, where you have your regulars coming back again and again. And that's why I used to throw glitter on the boys and the girls. I'd throw glitter I'd offer them sparkle tits or disco balls. More girls asked for the sparkle tits than the boys asked for the disco balls. But the offering was there. But it's part of a bit of madness. And that's how we did what we did at Harry's.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of glitter. I think someone called it the mess this up. Someone called it the napalm of the of the makeup wall.
Yes, it is. It doesn't go anywhere. My house looks like Tinkerbell's house.
That's the worst. A couple of days later, so what's this? No. Come on.
I had so many dudes phoning me in the evening when they get home from Harry's, and they're like, my wife was here, can you please tell her that I was at Harry's and not Mavericks? So that happened pretty often. But to manage a space and to get it to where it needs to be, you need to control that door. That's why I was always the host, to ensure that the space was managed correctly, because you can't just have anybody walk through the door. It's got to be by reservation, confirmations, and smart casual dress code. Else then you're going to have people rocking off the beach with their
flip-flops and
shorts and boogie boards.
Sports t-shirts.
It's not a look. The ladies take the time to get dressed up, put their makeup up and do their hair and put their dress on. They don't want to sit next to somebody with fucking shorts and a t-shirt. So I used to be quite strict on the door of who came into Harry's. And I'd get quite a few chicks with dicks, which is never a pleasant thing. I mean, I don't mind chicks with dicks, but you'd be forthcoming with it. But I used to have quite a few ladies of the night and chicks with dicks that used to come and try and rob people at the bars. So I'd have to be quite strict of who I let in. And that would only come with me doing confirmations of who's coming in the evening. If your name's on the list, your name's on the list. I mean, I wouldn't mind anybody coming in as long as you were dressed appropriately and you're coming to eat dinner and not be a thief. So I was called a racist quite often. Not that it was just only black people that were coming to try and steal. It was also the coloured and the whites that took the piss. And just because you are where you what you do,
you're sort of working towards the higher end of the market.
Correct.
And so obviously that creates an opportunity for, opportunists to see.
The ladies go to the bathroom to have a pee, and then the people that are watching, they go and they take their handbag. And then the customer comes and says, where's my handbag? It's not a safe space. I'm coming back again. So you have to be a little bit regimental and quite harsh to manage the space, and to manage 120 to 140 people, trying to keep them all happy at the same time. It's not easy. So I usually just drank more and gave less fucks, because, you manage people up to a point, but then you get the Karens and the Kevins that come and open their cockhole, and we're just like, shut the fuck up. So I had to do that very nicely, which mostly people understood. Actually, a lot of people like to be put in their place. I don't know why and how. It doesn't matter how much money they have. If you tell them shush, they usually behave. I don't know how or why, but they listened. Unless I was so drunk I didn't actually hear their responses. But people are coming back.
Anything's possible there, right?
Yeah.
But yes, I think it's an industry where you get to learn a lot. Obviously, you're talking about decades of experience here. I small little stints, a little bit here and there, working as a waiter or a barman and so on.
It's good money.
Not always. It depends.
Well, it depends on the best.
And if you're in Cape Town, depends on the season.
Yes, it does.
Unless you could be there for 16 hours, like double shift, and just not making money. It's just like the way
But
it
you
is.
see, you got to have that pull. You got to have that attraction.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when the Duchess opened, the first 5 years they were not on the roadmap. But after the 5 years, it was kicker. Most nights, it was kicker.
Yeah.
And even Harry's in Sea Point, it was busy. I mean, we curated it correctly from Monday to Sunday. We were busy. From 3 o'clock in the afternoon, people used to walk in there. And it was good. It was good. But someone has to run the ship. And if there's no one that gives a damn, no one's going to come.
I think what I was headed towards is that it's such an opportunity to learn about people.
Yes.
And you see the different kinds of people, different kinds of customers, and in time you learn as they walk through the door.
It's that EQ.
Yeah, but I mean, it's, you say EQ and sort of sounds like an inherent thing, and obviously you have some inherent level of that, but just working at a place like that
Yes.
for a very long time, you get the experience of when someone walks in and they're dressed like this, they look like that, you can see the signs of how the woman is looking around, how the guy is looking around, or
it's an immediate
are they
attention.
holding hands, or is she on his arm, or
it's all those little things.
And you learn how to piece these little pieces of the puzzle together and actually have a fairly accurate guess of how these people are going to behave.
Definitely. And also because I've chatted to them beforehand, before they've even walked through the door, because 80% of the people would obviously reserve before coming through. And also how you seat people. So when you walk into a space, into a restaurant, your eyes will fall onto particular tables. So those tables you need to put, it just is what it is. I'm not here to create the wheel. The wheel is what it is. So you put the well-dressed, pretty people on those tables, because when a person walks through the door, coming into your space, they want that around them. They want that zhuzh.
Yeah.
And
so you hide the gorgon in the corner.
Yes, literally. All the badly dressed, ugly people were in the dark corners. I mean, eventually at the Duchess, people would phone me and they'd be like, Robin, we're bringing a table of 6 in this evening, but they're all well dressed and they're pretty. Please don't put us in the back in the dark corner. So I'm like, yeah, of course. But if they'd walk through that door and they're fuck ugly, they go into the dark corner. Yeah, so that's it.
It's terribly judgmental, but like you say,
it's not.
It's the wheel is the wheel.
It's the wheel's the wheel. I'm not here to recreate it. I'm here to create an experience and an illusion and a theater, because that's what people want. They want that wow factor. So that's how I would do the glitter and put the pretty people where they're supposed to be. And then as the evening goes on, you put the lights down and the music up and change the genre. And you just behave a little bit badly. In a good way.
So after the Duchess, you've already alluded to this.
Yes, I went to Harry's and worked with Mike Townsend and his lovely wife, Linda. And and then I decided to leave just because we weren't coinciding, because I'm very bespoke. And even though I'm not a 100% owner, if I don't have a mouth or a say in the space or what I'm doing or how I'm doing things, I don't like it. Then I'm just like, sorry, there's too many chiefs, not enough Indians here. So I usually just say, c'est la vie, goodbye, good luck. And then the business tanks a little bit.
Yeah, and take it as a little plume, like, look.
Yes, I'm so sorry about it. Yeah, but I'm a bit of a stubborn motherfucker. I'm like an old goat, like my dad. And like, even if I don't agree or if I'm right or wrong, whatever, irrespective of the moment, like I went and opened the Black Rabbit here in town, because I knew that the space was available and he was open to opening a new space. And it was a learning curve for me as well, just because, you either have restaurateurs or you don't. There's people there just to make money and they want to rape everybody and not be forthcoming and the understanding of the actual industry, which Mike Townsend and Teresa and who I've worked with beforehand. And that's where a lesson was learned very late in life, about 6 months ago, where I had to go, no, not working for me. I did the best that I could with what I had available to me, and the restaurant's still working today. It's still there. But it's my voice or no voice, which is a bit of a problem if you don't actually own the space.
Yeah, that's quite understandable. somehow these later in life lessons, I mean, as we get older, you're saying a little bit stubborn and so on, but we also become, we often lose some of our flexibility or plasticity, right?
I'm rigid as fuck.
And so a lesson that if you learned that at 22 would have been less painful, by 45, 50 or so, then suddenly it's really painful. But if you can figure out how to absorb that and take it,
yes,
and allow that to grow you to the next level, it can be very powerful.
For sure. No. Well, I'm very strong in my thoughts and my ideas and what I know, what's going to work or what's not going to work. I mean, I'm working. I'm just in talks with Pagels in Devartica now, and Pagels used to be quite a restaurant to go to. Apparently, I've never been there. I'd never been there before, but as I'm talking to people in town, it's like a destination restaurant, events, weddings, conferences, and they've asked me to come and try and do a little bit of spoke sort of care and offering over there. And we'll see how it goes, if they are willing to say yes or no. But it's a great venue. And I really do see that there's some good potential there if they do it right. And they've got it 75% right. Their food is phenomenal. The interior just needs a little bit of work and spaces.
So I'll play a little bit of an imaginative game with you here for a second. With all of your experience and knowledge and taste and idea about how to create a space and what people want, and essentially, and I think this is one of the big, taste is something that is often underestimated.
Yes.
Like just having good taste.
Yeah.
And the ability to, as you say, curate the experience because you have good enough taste to actually understand what most people would really enjoy.
Yes.
If you had, let's say, some American billionaire who is just bored with the tech game, decides to move to Cape Town, wants to open a restaurant they can call theirs, but they're not really interested in running the restaurant. They just want someone to, here's a shitload of money. Tell me where would you go? Like, roughly, where do you think a good space would be? How many seats do you think, or how many people should a place contain? What do you think you'd do with that? I.e., money is basically not an option.
Interesting. Kind of simple. By that I mean any recipe has ingredients to it. Okay, so first of all, it's location. And that would be Atlantic Seaboard and Cape Town, that is, because of all the internationals coming through the space. And where do people want to be? They want to be the Atlantic Seaboard. They want to be waterfront, Sea Point, Camps Bay, Clifton.
Willie Point?
And Willie Point. It's all that same genre of space, but obviously you've got to watch out for the residential because you don't want the residents complaining about the noise, which has been a factor in the past. So you've got to put the restaurant in a place where you can be loud, there's lots of parking, and a minimum seat of 300 packs is a money maker. Food obviously has to be phenomenal. Small menu, not too large. I hate going to restaurants and it's like pages and pages of shit that you just look through.
Like a catalogue.
Yes, and then it's obviously the stock levels and it's a nightmare. So if you just have good food, whatever that might be, whatever genre it might be, that's obviously different to different restaurants. But the space, obviously, it's smart casual dress code, reservation only, and then you get to know your regulars over time, but it's also the music that you offer. So I used to do the playlists as well. So it's that foot tapping stuff right at the beginning where it's the background music, and as the evening goes up, you build it up. But it's about curating that. So it's food, experience, obviously, and waiters that need to be hot as fuck because, the illusion of you want pretty people around. You want, and people go, a waiter's a waiter. No, a waiter's not a waiter. A waiter is there to ensure that the experience that you have on that moment is enjoyed, and that's their point of reference. So they've got to be good looking, they've got to be informative, they've got to be educated, they've got to also be able to banter at whatever demographic walks through that door, whether you are a 20-year-old or a 50-year-old, and being able to converse on a level that's entertaining. And, you've got to know how to work the crowd. Like everyone's a salesman. No matter what we all do, you're a salesman, I'm a salesman, and you just got to know how to sell the product. whatever that might be, and with a little bit of a happy ending. Not actual happy ending, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The customer comes first.
That was we're still talking about what kind of establishment it is. I just wanted to make sure that you talk about sort of a
food and drinks.
Okay.
Food and drinks.
Yeah, we're not...
The illusion of a happy ending always needs to be there. That's why you have hot barman, hot waitresses, hot hostess. You want that. It just is what it is.
Creates a little bit of a tease and a bit of a...
Yes. I mean, and people go, oh, I'm like, whatever, dude. It is what it is. It's the wheel. It's there. I mean, I'm not going to go to a restaurant where the person is fat as fucking ugly and the waiting staff are stupid and they're lazy and they don't watch me. And, my waiters, I give each an A waiter like 20 packs. So that's like 4 tables of 4, 5 or 6, whatever. But if you're at waiter, it's not in your area and you're not watching. If the person stands out like this and looking around, your waiter needs to be there because that's what it comes down to. It's the sales. And if there's a drink that's like this much, like that much left, your waiter needs to be there and say, hey, what else can I offer you? Because it takes 5 to 7 to 8 minutes to get that drink out of the bar. And when
depending on what it might be, a cocktail.
Or and that matters. Because if you're sitting there and you're talking and you're having a good time, you're sipping and you're drinking, the more you drink, the more money the restaurant makes. So you've got to have those waiters on their shit to ensure that that drink is full at all times. So it's about the service and the tenacity of the individuals. And I know some waiters that know how to sell. Sometimes too much so, where we get named and shamed and they're like, why did they push so hard? Well, push, it's a way how to do it. But it matters. It matters.
Yeah, it is. It is special when you're in a place, especially if you're accustomed to a place that has a certain level of service, and you go to another place and you suddenly realize, like can I, guys?
That's why the restaurant's not going to last 6 months.
My beer's been empty for...
Would infuriate me.
For 10 minutes, I haven't even seen someone...
Would infuriate me. I'm a very respectful sort of patron though, wherever I go. Like, I'm not that kind of person to name and shame and shout and scream. But I just notice where not to go back to. Because people you've got to give a damn. You've got to love the product. Whatever you do in life. I mean, you love doing this. I love doing what I do. I mean, it's not work for me. That's why I love it. I mean, it is work to a certain degree, but it's not work.
Yeah, no.
Like, I actually want to get up in the morning. I want to curate an evening where it's enjoyed.
Yeah.
So,
and I think when you've got someone who's saying waitering staff or bar staff or so on, and they're not there and they're not like actively taking care as much as they can, you actually feel a little bit neglected.
Yes.
And in simple terms, you can say one of the big human desires is to be loved.
Yes.
Right?
Appreciated
And loved and respected.
Acknowledged.
But all of it kind of boils down to some form of love, essentially.
Yes.
And so kind of want to feel like the staff loves you.
Yes. Yes. And
that's why they're taking care of you.
And notice.
And it might be a complete illusion, and you might have some places where it's so sincere that it actually is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm slightly insincere. I mean, I remember people coming through the door to Duchess and be like, so nice to see you again. They're like, it's my first time. And I'm like, I don't really give a fuck. Go through. You say it to everybody to make them feel good.
But a bit of tough love.
Yeah, it's a bit of tough love. Fuck up, just go through. Yeah. I mean, just talking about the Duchess and what the offering is, and people are so shocked about it, is that she has her dad's car in the bar that was one of his prize cars, a dairy car, and above the car it says "cunt" in a luminous pink fluorescent.
What is this, like taxidermied full actual car?
Well, only like the head. The head.
Okay.
Yeah, like a buck or something, whatever. But above that car it says "cunt" in a luminous pink fluorescent bulbs. And the clientele that used to go to the Duchess or goes there, I'm not too sure, I haven't been for a while, go there like, well, what's that? It's off kilter, it's naughty, it's liked, it's not liked, but it's a talking point.
It's provocative.
It's provocative. That's it. And that's it. That picture that I'll show you later about that, us on the bar, we get a little bit naughty. It's about that. It's like, just be yourself. You use the space as a little bit of naughtiness, a bit of a memory that you'll wake up in the morning and go, God, it was a good time. That's what a restaurant and a bar is about. Yeah.
So I think this is a very interesting and colorful arena, and people go to places and eat food and have the experiences, and
Yes.
you go to a place and it's a little bit more expensive, and your expectations change, and you feel like the food maybe wasn't that great and there wasn't any additional experience. Like, surely it can't just be location, all of it, right? And so there's always trying to find that right value proposition, that balance for where you feel, yes, I'm paying a little bit more, but the food is just that little bit better, and there's just that little bit more attention. And I'm not quite sure what it was, but I had fun.
Yes.
I.e. the magic, the things that a lot of people aren't even necessarily conscious about.
Correct. Yeah.
With all of this experience, what are you currently busy with? I understand you might have some projects that are still under wraps. And
I am, because I'm such a stubborn ghost at the moment, and I've told too many people to go fuck themselves.
Got place and time for everything.
Well, yes, and it's just is what it is. I've had a bit of a reset, as we discussed earlier, but now I'm trying to work less with more substance, because I used to just run all the time, just because of who I am and what I like to bring to the table. So I'm a worker. I love working. And if I'm not busy, I'm like a little bit ADHD. So I need to be busy all the time. But I've also come into the knowledge that people take advantage of you as much as you give, people will take. So I've had to pull back a little bit, just for my own self-worth and my own energy levels. So I'm very wary of who I give time and energy to these now going forward, because there's value to it, and I've got to start valuing myself in regards to what I bring to the table and not allow people to take advantage. So at the moment, I am assisting some people in regards to restaurants and spaces with interior and also the look and the feel of spaces and suggestions. So there's a few restaurateurs that I'm sort of just consulting for. Then I'm also opening with two friends of mine the Cape Marine Academy, which is facilitating South Africans to get jobs on cruise liners.
Yes, we were talking about this a little bit earlier.
Yes, and that's my main focus.
That's still kind of in the oven.
Yes, so we probably another 2-3 weeks at most, I pray, that it's going to be open, but we've got the platform that's ready there. We have somebody working on the cruise liners, earning dollars, South Africans, and for example, for barmen that earn 12,000 Rand as a monthly salary here in South Africa, has the opportunity to earn 80 to 120,000 Rand on cruise liners overseas. And that's not just for barmen, it's for managers, it's for waiters, it's for concierges. I mean, well, even at the concierges,
scullery.
The scullery. Yeah, I mean, the scullery people, there's like on land, it's called scullery. On boats, it's called galley. But South Africans are not aware of that. So when they want to apply for the job, even though they have the experience, they don't know the know-how of how to get the job or apply for the job on cruise liners earning that. I mean, South Africans earning dollars, you could work on there for like 2-3 years and come back and buy a home in the surface of
I know a South African who's a cigar sommelier on a cruise liner.
That's it.
I mean, that sounds like the life.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many jobs. I mean, we're only doing food and beverage at the moment because it's quite a process getting the courses and everything ready for people to be educated.
So, Robin, just let's start from the start with this. So you're busy building a kind of platform, someone who's interested, typically someone who's already in the industry, who's got experience, and they want to go try their luck on the cruise liners for a while. You offer them courses that would allow to upgrade and refine some of their skills to ensure that they align with the demands and requirements of.
Nicely said, and precisely that. Besides the STCW courses, which we've obviously outsourced to a third party, so there's that accreditation that anybody that's working on the seas, on the high seas, have to have, whether it's oil rigs, yachts, cruise liners, whatever you're doing, everybody has to have those STCWs. And then over and above that, just as you stated, it's the job title plus the job description and the requirements of that description of the job. So if you don't know what is required, you're not going to be able to answer the questions when you go for your interview with the respective cruise liners.
Cruise liner.
Yeah, so we have the job
just to ensure that for any potential gaps in your skill set, maybe you've been working as a waiter or as a barman for so long, but you don't know, like, because in your area in the restaurant you work in, they don't serve an old fashioned. Now someone asks you to make an old fashioned, you don't know how to make it, or whatever.
So that's how we're going to educate you.
So gapful.
Yes, it's almost like varsity college. If you want to be if you want to be an accountant or whatever the job that you go to is, basically we give you the information that you need to be able to give you the job. Because if you don't know it, you don't know it. You're not going to get the job. So it's basically education on how to get the job in your job interview. We help with CV creation and also training in regards to like the barman, what cocktails that you need to know, and taking account that that's just F&B. Now, on a cruise liner, there's 310 positions.
F&B?
There's only F&B that we're dealing with right now, which is food and beverage.
Food and beverage, okay.
Ultimately, we're going to grow it where it's not just F&B, it's all positions on the job. So we will educate people on what to do and how to do things. I mean, these people on the cruise liners, they have to fluff the birds away off the decks. I mean, how do you know that job's available? I mean, it's a random job, but it's a job.
Shoot.
But basically, it's that basic. So, as new as I am learning what I'm learning, I just think that the possibility, and because I'm in the service industry and I love what I do, and I see the South Africans working so hard, as we all do, and
you feel like they're underrepresented,
definitely, and also underpaid
on cruise liners,
and also underpaid here in South Africa. The restaurant business is hard work. It's hard work, and it takes a lot of love and passion and energy. And so I want to facilitate the guys that work so hard to actually earn some real money. And that's why I am doing what I'm doing. And I mean, I could have gone on the boats and got a job, but it's not. First of all, I'm 52. I've got 3 dogs at home, which I love and care for, and I don't want to leave them. But I also see the possibility of helping guys that work with me on the restaurant floors to facilitate them, because I have the contact on the boats and what is required. I just thought to myself, and Jean Jacobs, who's actually the founder of Cape Marine Academy, he's my partner. Plus, I'm working with another guy called Sasha. There's 3 of us, and we just want to facilitate and help South Africans get real work and real money, and where we actually valued, and we can work that hard, and we still have some money in the bank afterwards to actually do the things that we all want to do.
Yeah. I mean, I can appreciate that if you've got someone who's sort of starting out, let's say been in the industry for 3 years, but you're not an owner
of Cape Marine.
No, it's of an establishment in Cape Town, right? For instance, in Cape Town, it could be Johannesburg or Durban or wherever. But you working your ass off, and for the kind of money you're making, you don't have a lot of money to put away. So now let's say you have a dream of becoming a restaurant owner yourself. You need that money to start and it's just going to take you too long. It's going to take you 20 years of working as a waiter to
get there,
to try and save up the money so that you can try to open your own place, where this is just a way to.
It's
like, if you really have that dream, you can say, you know what, I'm going to bite it off a couple of years of my life.
And it's hard work, but also taking into account, you go visit the best places on the planet. Your accommodation is paid for, your food is paid for, you're saving money, and you go to the best destinations in the world.
Yeah.
It's
I can think, especially like if you're in your 20s.
Definitely. Well, even later. I mean, there's a woman that's a chartered accountant.
I feel like I'm all travelled out.
Wow. Are you though? There's a chartered accountant in Brazil, and I think she was 45, 48, and all she wanted to do was travel. And she was like, the best way to do it, even with the education that she has, she's going to come work on the ships, and she's working in the restaurants, making a bit of cash and traveling the world and seeing what she's seeing and enjoying on the cost of the boats. So irrespective of age, I think that if you want it, you go for it.
Cool. I like this idea. I think it's nice to sort of give people a bit of a leg up.
Definitely.
With a process like this.
I mean, if I had the know-how in my early 20s, I would have done the boats if I knew how to. The problem is a lot of people don't know how to actually apply and go to
And you also
jobs.
have people who actually predate on them who say, "Oh, you have to pay us so much money, we'll get you a job."
There's a lot of scammers out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that was the Cape Marine Academy is you pay for your STCW. If you don't have your STCW, that's through a separate company. We obviously book the courses for you, but it's the same cost as you would go to them, but we facilitate you in booking and enabling you to ensure that you actually have the required to get the jobs. And then obviously we have short courses, which are very minimal cost as in regards to a barman, waitering, manager, the things that you need to know to be able to get onto the boat. And then we also help you, we give you the pathway of where to go and apply actual jobs on different cruise liners, because every cruise liners have a different genre of expectations of client, of people that actually work on the boats. So we try and marry the right demographic with the right boat expectation.
Yeah. I think it sounds super practical. I quite like it. You've already said this isn't quite completed yet, like a couple of weeks. In the meanwhile, if someone hears about this and they're interested,
I'll give you some contact details that you can email me on, or let's just keep it to email, or I'll give you a website that.
Yeah, what if you have a website link or an email, and then I'll make sure to put that in the show notes, and then anyone who's really interested could at least just
reach out.
Reach out so that they get on the kind of waiting list, so that when you guys are ready for action.
I appreciate that, yeah. And it's just about it's just helping South Africans like earn more money, be a little bit more self-sufficient, and it's available. So I just want to help those guys to be able to be somewhere that the effort and the energy they put into the reason why they get out of bed in the morning. So everybody's got to get a little bit back. And let's hopefully we can facilitate that.
Robin, do you feel like we missed anything that you would have liked to have chatted about?
There's a lot, but I thought I kept it pretty tidy this time, so it kept it quite vanilla. Maybe next time a few more tequilas and my lips might be a bit more looser.
Yeah, I'll have to put additional warnings on that episode. And
possibly. Actually, definitely. But thank you. I really appreciated it.
Yeah, Robin, really appreciate you coming out today. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
And chat again soon.
It happened so quickly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. That's it.
That was fun, right?
Boom. Lots of fun. Without the tequila, I'm quite surprised.